So.
I see you come armed with water today.
Yeah, I definitely
Definitely
brought my water. He
No,
did.
I still got it. You still got it? Yeah. That's good, dude.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Very, very excited about today, about the outcome of today. Being able to add Michael Penix Jr. When you can add a high caliber player like that with his intangibles, those tools, he's a winner. Very, very excited. You don't pass up that opportunity. And Kirk Cousins is our quarterback. We're very excited about Kirk. Very excited about this team. And Michael Penix is. We're talking about the future. The draft is. You look at the future and you look at big picture. But we are very excited about that quarterback room. And again, Kirk is our quarterback, but adding Michael Penix is thinking about the future.
You ready for questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What were impressed you all on the April 5th visit? He told us he met with y'all at the combine, and it was pretty tough meeting for him. But how did the April 5th presentation go? Workout go?
Yeah, every exposure with Penix, we're very excited about it. Look, he's you look at his history, he's been through some things through his career. The injuries he went through earlier in his career and been able to bounce back and do the things that he did at the University of Washington. So, but every exposure going into this process and getting to go out there and see him in person, that's really important to us to be able to really get around him, spend more time with him, and we take advantage of every exposure.
How did y'all balance that? Hey, there's a good quarterback here, and some defenders were available, and a receiver went right after your pick. How did you all balance the players that were available to you at 8?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Coach, but it was pretty simple for us. When you get Kirk Cousins and you talk about short-term winning, you talk about winning right now, which we know we're going to be in position to do, which we want to be in position to do. We won't have the ability to be picking this high again with the guy that we got. And these guys go off the board pretty quickly, and we thought it would be important for us to address our future quarterback right now while we're picking this low in these moments and to be able to move forward. Fortunately enough with us, we got a Kirk Cousins in the building. We got a guy that can go out there and win football games, and we should be picking high enough. We talked about winning the South. We talked about doing some of these things. That includes going to the playoffs. You just seen 6 quarterbacks go off the board before the 12th pick of the draft. And we don't want to be picking on it anymore. And Terry's done a nice job of getting us some really good players, some quality players, but we don't want to be back in that position. So let's move forward, think about the future, address that right now. We're in position to win. We put ourselves in position to win. These guys have done a great job of doing that, and that helped us make that decision, and it made it pretty definitive in our building for us and how we wanted to move tonight and how we wanted to move today with that thing happening that way.
Yep, and there are still a lot of good defensive players on the board, and we're excited to have at this point 3 picks tomorrow, and we'll make sure we continue to add to this team. Not just good defensive, there's still good offensive players on the board. So we're gonna add some good players in this draft.
What would you say to a fan or a season ticket holder who hasn't seen this team in the playoffs since 2017 to be thinking about the future as opposed to you could have taken your pick of any defensive player on the board?
Yeah, that's who we're thinking about when we make decisions like this. The most important position in football, and that's why we did everything we could do to get Kirk Cousins, and to tell you that that now we did everything we could do to get Kirk Cousins. We're excited about him, and then now we added a Michael Penix Jr. That's who we're thinking about when we make these. These are not easy decisions. These are tough decisions, but that's who we're thinking about. We're thinking about the fans. We're thinking about this organization. We're going to build a sustained winner, and we're going to win for a long time. That's the most important position in football. So that's what we're thinking about. But this roster building, we have a lot left in this draft. We're going to add some good players. We have a lot of confidence in that. And then even as we get out of this draft, 24/7, 365, we're going to continue to build this team.
If I can follow up with one more on that
Yes, sir.
same line of thinking, would this have been as important to address this with this pick, if not for the fact that this quarterback you just signed will be 36 and is coming off a serious injury?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good look. We're very excited about where Kirk is. We feel very confident in him and everything he's gonna do for us. again, we're thinking more long-term with this. So very, very excited about Kirk. That has not changed. This is a pick thinking about the future.
And I could piggyback off that. I think it's nothing to do with the injury. I think if we were fortunate enough, we talked about it, to have Kirk for his 12-year career with us, we still be in that position thinking about potentially going to get our quarterback or going to get the quarterback for the future. And that's the nature of the beast, right? We were lucky enough to watch Matt Ryan play 14 years, I believe 13 of them with the Atlanta Falcons. And at some point, you got to find a way to have that succession plan in place. And just so happened it poses itself tonight. And with the guy that we have and the guy that we got and the guy that we think coming back, like I said, we don't want to be back in this position again to pick that guy.
We won't be.
We won't be.
Raheem, there can be a tension in this league between the front office, who Terry's job is to sort of build and think 3 years out. Your job, you were hired with the expectation that this roster was ready to win now. So do you feel, is there a pull from your position to not do something that's going to ostensibly help your team immediately?
I don't think there's ever a tension when you're talking about winning or you're talking about long-term winning. I think our job is to win long-term. I think our job is to win immediately. I think our job all plays in together. So when you say that, he has addressed the immediate future, going out, getting Kirk Cousins, getting us in position to win. Going out and get the widest that we had to address our roster with, going out and filling some of the guys, the veterans that we had to go get in free agency. And we still have tomorrow, we still have the next day to go and keep improving to our roster. So to say that there would be ever a tension or divide based on that, I think those are well-calculated guess and well-calculated thought out by us, decisions made to go out there and get what's best for our football team. And I think we did tonight.
Terry, to Raheem's point about a succession plan, when you kind of think back to the position you were in 2021 with Matt Ryan, and how much does that decision and the effects of the last 2 seasons alter your own thinking about a succession plan with Kirk Cousins?
Yep, Tori, I understand the question. It's a good question. Every draft is different, right? And every draft is completely different. And there's some drafts, you just saw these quarterbacks go. And there's some drafts where not many quarterbacks go. A couple drafts ago, one quarterback went in the first round. And you saw the quarterbacks that won the first round. So these drafts are different. Next year can be different. That's why you have to when you have a lot of belief in a player, you can't pass that up, So it wasn't so much that we went into the draft and said, hey, because of previous, we have to make sure we have this in place, because if we weren't staring at Penix there, we weren't going to reach and force something. This wasn't us forcing something. This was just we have a lot of belief in the player, and we know he can be a future franchise player. And so that's why we made the decision to do that right now. If it wasn't him, if we weren't staring, or if other guys would have went, then we weren't going to try to reach or try to force something. We're very excited about where we are right now, but if there's a player on the board that we believe in, we're going to take him.
To that end, and Rye, you can answer this too, but what is it specifically about Michael that makes you feel that way?
Really it's a lot of the same similar traits we talk about when we got Kirk Cousins. You're talking about a guy, a pocket passer who can progress really well, who can do all the things they want to do, throw the ball all over the field. We're talking about a player that can come in and learn from a player that we just picked up and really be behind him, really see the right way, get it modeled the right way, be in the building at the same time. All of those things that we talked about when we signed Kirk, there's a lot of the things that we saw on tape from Michael that we love. The live arm, the ability to go out there and play, the ability to be healthy the last 2 years and really be successful in Washington. We love the fighting the kid. We love the interactions that we had with him throughout the process. Everything that came into place with that type of thing. So we're really excited about the man. We're really excited about the guy. Really excited about our plan. Really excited about the people that we have in our building, particularly Kurt, and knowing that he's going to get modeled the right way with the guy that we have.
This question is for Terry or Raheem, whichever one of you called Kurt when you were on the clock and you tell him about it. What's his reaction?
Well, that's a private. We wouldn't share that, and obviously
Reactions are pretty private, right?
Yeah.
He got called on the clock, obviously, because it's a sensitive time with the issues of what you got going on. It's never a right time to talk to a quarterback about those things, and reactions are always going to be private when it comes to those things, unless Kirk decides to tell you some of those things, or whatever the case may be. But he's a competitor. just like us all, and you can always expect those things to go just like you kind of think.
Now, his agents kind of been telling us that they were shocked and dismayed and so forth. That they were informed on the clock.
Yes.
Terry, I think the conventional wisdom in like a developmental quarterback or a quarterback that you're going to use for the future is maybe you use a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick, and you hope that they improve. Has your, I guess, perspective on how to staff the position changed over the years in terms of wanting to kind of go full bore in terms of allocating this top draft capital?
Well, I think just, you look at, you can say 3rd, 4th-round pick if there's somebody you really believe in the 3rd or 4th round, but you can see 6 quarterbacks went in the 1st round. There's a reason. It's not easy. It's not easy to do in terms of this position, finding, and you can, when you really study the drafts and study the history, there's years that there's none, that there's years that there's a couple, and so when you look at really the history, so at the end of the day, if you believe in a player at that position, because if we're all sitting here a few years from now, whenever it is, and this guy's playing pretty good for somebody, regardless of the situation, regardless of, you sit back and look back and we pass him up, you can't do that. If you believe in a quarterback, you have to take him. And if he sits for 4 or 5 years, that's a great problem to have because we're doing so well at that position. So it's just as simple as if you see a guy that you believe in at that position, you have to take him.
I'm Joe Patrick from 929 The Game, by the way. How do you coach Mike coming into this position? How do you integrate him? Like, what is his role going to be with the team?
You get him in. Like I said, he's got a great guy that he can model his game after. He has a great guy he can model his process after. He got a great guy that he can model everything about. Kirk Cousins is absolutely phenomenal from when he came into this league until now. And, he's in a position that he can just go follow and do the right things within our building, do the right things within the structure of learning our offense, and put himself in position to go out there and try to be the best version of himself, And that's all he needs to do, just be the best version of himself for us.
Did how did you all square the medicals with his early part at Indiana? The 2 knees, shoulders, and the fact that he was healthy the last couple of years. How did your medical reports come back for his health?
Yeah, that's all part of it. We looked at all the history. Again, our trainers and doctors, we spend a lot of time with them going through that process. And it does mean a lot that he's played well these last 2 years. Obviously, that's something we're always forward thinking on in terms of doing everything we can do to prevent injuries, but we felt good about it.
At what
How
point
do you
did
guys
he?
do? Go ahead, Kelly.
At what point did he maybe? This whole thing kind of you're so convicted in this choice, right? So at what point did he really sell himself to you guys? Was it that visit in Seattle? Like, what did he maybe do or say that you guys were like, wow, this is our guy? I know last year you guys talked about Bijan when you went to the barbecue place, and that whole visit was like when that solidified. When was it with Michael?
It's every step of the process. The boots on the ground scouts they're their first level, and they're they go through their gathering all the information, and we get the scouts grades and reports, and then as you get out of the season, the coaches get involved, and we continue to go through that process, and then you got the All-Star games, the combine. There's all these different levels, and we do a lot of work into it. I wouldn't say there was one magic moment. It's just going through the whole process, and as you continue to work through the draft, and then we look at what's there, and when he was sitting there staring at us at 8, we weren't going to pass it up.
How do these 2 quarterbacks balance each other in a way that you're confident they can learn and grow off of each other?
It was really the young man's responsibility to learn from Kirk. You're talking about a guy that's had a lot of success in the National Football League, and you're talking about a young man coming into the league. He's going to be hungry. He's going to be eager to learn and just have a certain desire that it takes to sit back and learn. And, I watched Kirk do it, and now it's Michael's time to do it. And it's just like you can't put that on Kirk. Kirk's job is just to be a professional. Kirk, God will show him the way by how he goes about his daily business every single day. And Michael will get a chance to see that firsthand. And I think that's really a good thing for a young player.
Did you see that willingness to learn and be patient during these in-person meetings?
For me, I saw the willingness to learn from when you're coaching them throughout the workout. When you have an ability to talk to them within the Zoom conversations that our coaches had with them. When you have an ability to go through the process and watch him go through his whole career and where he was at and where he came from and things he had done. So it excites us to add a guy of this caliber, to add a guy that we felt like could be our future. Like you said, you don't know what round is going to come in. They come in all type of rounds. But for us, it's starting to happen a little bit quicker now, and things are happening faster. And, you know, Green Bay model was something that we talked about, and it's been proven to be right last year. So hopefully we'll be right with them.
Anything else?
Terry
How do
Michael
you-
was not the only quarterback still sitting there at 8.
Yeah.
There was a lot of speculation watching the draft that other teams might be interested in possibly moving up right around your spot. Can you speak on what kind of interest you had when your spot came up?
Yeah, we had a lot of communications about moving back, and we talked to a lot of teams just preliminary talks to assess, but we didn't have we didn't get a big offer for someone to give up a lot to give up. That wasn't there. Again, we're in communication, but there wasn't there weren't any offers to come up, any significant offers to come up to our spot.
Just to follow up on the Green Bay model, I was
You know that, don't you?
kind of got it right here. They were taking guys in the 4th and the 5th and the 6th. A-Rod in the 1st.
A-Rod and Jordan in the first.
And Jordan in the 1st. So it's more of the latter part. Okay.
Yep.
Not the Craig Neal and Makeda.
Which year you on there? You gotta tell us what year you on.
Yeah,
man.
I'm about 92.
You went back on me,
05,
man.
Yeah.
I was speaking more to the previous
The
model.
05,
You know,
top 2000.
the model when they took Love, you know, and
Okay.
think of that nature and think
Okay.
of putting a succession plan in the building where it wasn't a popular choice by anybody, the fans,
Okay.
by, you know, clearly the writers and some of those things. But, you know, I think you got to trust your process. You got to trust your evaluations of the players. I think you got to be really convicted in the people that you put in place to evaluate the people. I think once you do those things, you know, along with Terry's people, along with our people on the coaching side, you collaborate and you get into the rooms and you talk about those things and you talk about where you're going to move forward and how you're going to move forward. It doesn't lose any conviction in the guys that you have in your room, like a Kirk Cousins. You got full conviction in those guys to winning the South, to going out and taking the South and doing all these things you want to do as a team. I think all of those things still stand in place, but at some point, you know, I wish we all can play forever, but we can't. And if things are going right, things are going right. We'll be happy in Atlanta, and we'll be moving forward with Kurt, and we'll see what happens, right? But we got 5 years before we got to make those decisions based on the timing that you pick these guys and the timing they go out. And like we said, man, things have moved up. It's a little bit different than it used to be when you can take a third-round quarterback and you can let those guys mature and grow into potential starters. It's a little bit different timing. It's a little bit different world. And like I said earlier, I'm hoping and you're hoping that we're not in position to pick quarterbacks because we're not going to be picking low enough. And if we can get to that realm, then we're going to be talking about the stuff that we want to play with and the gas we want to play with and how we want to play.
What do you say to the people that they just saw the Michigan game, but then you got another group that saw them in the Big Ten, and then you got the people that were watching a lot more Pac-12 last year, maybe because of Coach Prime, and saw what he did against Oregon and a lot of the 36 touchdowns, and saw what he could do. Just his whole body of work was. Can you address that?
Talking about Michael?
Yes.
We got a lot of conviction on Michael, right? You can go watch where he got tore down in that championship game versus Michigan, right? And where it didn't go as well. We can watch the Texas game where he liked out. But you can watch the body of work throughout the season and the processor, and you can watch him go about his business and how he learns and how he grows and how he makes decisions, how he makes it happen. And there'll still be a learning curve when you come to the National Football League. There'll be some things he'll be asked to do that he wasn't asked to do in college that he can learn. And I just think this is a perfect situation for him. I think with the guy that we have, the man that we have, obviously it's not going to be this happy feeling of emotions that people wanted to be right away. But this is a business. These guys are professionals. We are professionals. We love each other, and we are competitive. So I believe we'll get this thing to work together, and we'll get this thing working the right way, and we'll get it the way that we needed to get it done.
Just the scouting wise, was there enough underneath stuff? Because you could see everybody could see the bombs to say that. Was there enough underneath stuff that y'all saw that could translate to the pro game?
I'm sorry, you want to go?
No, go ahead.
The wow, obviously, is up top. The wow's up top, right? When you see him throw the ball on the field, the pylons, you see the field post, you see some of those type of throws. But the progression of the player, watching him go from up top to being able to progress to the low crosses, being able to progress to downhill, to the check downs, doing some of those things, some of the things that obviously that you love about the player, right? He's playing a professional game at a very high level. His coordinator is now in the professional game and what he did from last year. So, I mean, I don't know how to express the fact that we're excited about his ability, but we're in a great position because we have a guy. And you want to put yourself in position to get a guy when you got a guy. And that seems to be the new formula and the new style and the way we want to go about our business. And I thought Terry did a nice job of working the draft, trying to figure out when it can happen, what's going to happen, and how we're going to do it. And us be teaming up and doing that thing together. And, like, that's not going to change, based on a few plays that didn't go the way that you think it can go, based on the ability to coach some of the things that you can do better.
A lot of their chatter online in the media is, shocker, stunning. Doesn't seem like you guys are shocked or stunned. So how do you parse the reaction with what you guys saw and what you know?
Yeah, I guess you understand. I mean, you have all the mock drafts and wherever they come from, and the mock drafts, and people have an expectation of what you're going to do, and usually people expect it to pretty much go like that, But we have a very detailed process as we go through it, and we have a lot of people that work really hard. And again, we have a long way to go in this draft. We're very excited, and we're going to definitely get some defensive players, some other offensive players, and we're very excited about it. But I think sometimes people have an expectation, right, of what they expect to happen, and so sometimes it goes the other way. But when we make decisions like this, again, we're thinking about this organization. We're thinking about these fans. We're thinking about the people here. And this is a decision we have a lot of belief in this player. Again, that's why we're very aggressive in free agency, and we made sure we did whatever we could do to get Kirk Cousins. And we worked hard to do that because we know that we're going to win a lot of games with Kirk, and we're very excited about that. And when you're staring at a quarterback that we have a lot of belief in the college game, you take advantage of it.
Terry, I want to ask you about Penix's age. He's an older prospect. He turns 24, I think, next week, a couple weeks from now.
Yep.
If all goes according to plan with Kirk, he's not going to play for 3, maybe 4 years. You're talking about 27, 28, and you're not going to have much game film on him playing against starters. Is it a risk in that regard as far as him sitting for so long when he's an older prospect?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. In this draft, we're starting to see more of the older prospects. I know we got the COVID year in there, but then also guys we're starting to see a little bit more of that. Guys that are staying in college a little bit longer. But that's not an issue. To answer your question, we have a lot of confidence in him, and look, the way he plays the game, and we feel really good about that. Not concerned about his age in a negative way.
Raheem, how do you see him fitting into Zach's offense? Like, what is it about his game that you think is a good match? And then also just kind of an ancillary question is, does the left-handedness matter?
I'll go with the first part of the question first. Obviously the pocket passer, right? The National Football League, the difference between college football and the National Football League, the biggest difference, I should say, is a couple, but being able to be a pocket passer, which he has shown in college. And that is like a natural fit for what you want to do. Like when you're talking about any of these high-profile offenses that we're talking about a pocket passer for the most part, right? Whether it be Patrick Mahomes at the very best, or whether it be all of the great processes that we have in our building that we've had, Matt Ryan, whatever it's been, the pocket passing ability of him is something that really that stands out. I would say why he would fit into our offense, Zach Robinson's offense, and the Atlanta Falcons offense just in general. But the left-handed thing is definitely something that you definitely would change up a couple of different things. You mentioned the blind side changing. You mentioned some of those things. You mentioned something would definitely be a part of with how you do your play action. Some of those things may be changing a little bit, particularly how you throw, how you roll, how you half roll, how you change the pocket, how you change the platforms, things of that nature. But, that's something that we're all willing to do. That's something that we all have a little bit of experience with. And we can talk about those things once we get our plan in place on the grass.
And then, Terry, you kind of mentioned at the beginning that it was tough. Why was it tough? Was it because you kind of knew that there was going to be a certain reaction, I guess, knowing that you could have taken some, you know?
No, I guess I didn't mean, what I was trying to say, this is a business.
Right.
Right? So, the tough part is, obviously, you're not gonna always
people.
please everybody, right? I mean, you just said it, there's fans that can say, okay, why wouldn't you do this? Why would you do that? Because you do. Yeah, you wanna, so we have to think about what's best for this franchise, what's best for this team, but, you know, sometimes there's some decisions you make that there can be some, so that's the tough part, I guess. You know, it's a business, but we know that this is going to be we're going to be really excited about this decision, and we are very excited about this decision. And even though right now in the moment you can look at why another quarterback, but we're very excited about the quarterback we signed in free agency, and we just drafted one too, so we're excited about it.
Anything else?
Raheem, as a coach, what have you learned about Michael and his journey? He talked in the Players Tribune story, which I'm sure you've read. He talked about not only his injuries, but being told at the very start that he was not good enough to play in the SEC, and that's why he went to Indiana. So he had something to prove there. And what have you? He's come back from adversity in different ways.
It's something about it, the two quarterbacks we got in the building right now, right? Two guys that have kind of been second guessed, kind of been doubted, always proving people wrong. You know, Kurt's no different with that story, and Michael Penix's story sounds very similar. There's something about people that go through adversity. There's something about people that can handle adversity, and there's something about people that can absolutely bounce back from all different types of walks of life and be here. And I'm no different, right? I've been a head coach before, and I've failed at it, and I've got an opportunity to bounce back from it, and I want to make the most out of it. And those two players, they represent that at the highest way, and Michael Penix would be no difference. And what we're talking about with people dealing with adversity and how you deal with adversity in this sport. And just to piggyback off Terry, you know, it is always tough to we make those decisions because of the people and because of that 1-2 and because of that will that we're talking about, that you're talking about, that fighting will that Michael Penix had to get to this point. There's no different than our starting quarterback right now in Kirk Cousins. And that's why you feel the empathy for all of those guys, because you know what this is and you know how this goes. And, you know, I think somebody mentioned, how do you manage the fact that he may play for 4 years, man? And that will make me feel better about watching Kirk Cousins play for 4 years, because there's some really good things going on around here.
Failure is a part of the process.
It's part of the process.
When you have guys with the right makeup, the right humility, but he's right. And that's what we love about this team, the character of this team, and the two guys we're talking about are obviously high-character players.
Will he be in the building tomorrow?
Yes.
We'll let you know tomorrow.
We'll do a presser tomorrow, right? Is that how? Yeah.
We're not telling you nothing, we're not making any false promises we can't keep.
Yeah. It's in the plane to Tampa. Scoop them up.
Anything else? All right.
All good?
Take care, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, guys. This draft is late on the East Coast, guys.